Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be providing a long-term market outlook and prediction for Cardano into the rest of this year, and ultimately discuss where I think Cardano could be headed on the USD as well as the BTC ratio. I think it's fairly important to consider both because obviously we do want to look at the opportunity cost if you do have dollars invested in Cardano, that is dollars that are not being invested into, say, Bitcoin. So looking at its performance with respect to the rest of the market is a great idea in general, and I did want to focus on this chart as well. So I'm going to be starting here off on the weekly chart, and with Cardano, I really think the most important level to be paying attention to is this level right around 40 cents. This level holds a lot of value, being the high right here back in April of 2018. This was the massive lower high that Cardano formed back in the previous bear market. We saw that as a point of resistance right here before ultimately correcting back down to form these deep bear market lows. And then we also saw that as resistance before the continuation on this bull run. You can see that was really the first major pivot point that we had on this weekly chart with two red candles. The price ultimately correcting from this point by about 30%. And then from there, when we did get that breakout, it was straight off to new all-time highs. That was also support in the summer range lows that we saw on the first leg down in May of 2022. And then we just continued to hold that as support on the next several retests. And then eventually when we did get that breakdown, if I zoom in here, you can see that level flipped right into resistance during this rally in October. We had that move coming up into it, rejecting off of it, and then coming back down to form a low right around 24 cents. So we discussed how this was a fairly bearish pattern because when we had a level of support flip into resistance, it looked like the market just wanted to accept and continue this downtrend in this bear market. But we have seen a second retest so far. So this is going to be a very key level to watch out for, again, into the next few months. And for the longer term context of Cardano, when it is able to break back above this and reclaim it, I think that's when we're going to see the chart get really more bullish looking, especially with that longer term direction, because again, it has been historically very important. If I zoom all the way back out again, there is a significant gap between this level at 40 cents and the next major target of resistance. And that level is right around $1. We saw that as the high on the candle closing basis from back here in the previous market cycle. That was a support that we held on multiple occasions all throughout 2021 up until the breakdown that we saw in February of 2022. You can see all of this price action again, holding it as support, one last area holding it as support, and then a breakdown followed by a recovery attempt back up higher, ultimately unsuccessful. And after this attempt, Cardano basically had this very quick capitulation back down to that 40 cent level. So there's very little price action between this area at 40 cents and the next level at $1. Any move between these zones have historically been very quick and fast paced. So if I just remove these drawings here real quick, again, you can see how these moves have typically been very aggressive. When we had this first break right here in December of 2017, it was only a matter of 2 weeks to again go from 40 cents all the way up to $1, a 2.5x. And then on the way back down, it was only another 4 weeks or so for correcting 60%. And then the same thing really happened right here in the previous bull run in February 2021. We did see that breakout, and it only took 2 to 3 weeks for it to rally up to that level. So very quick moves to the upside and to the downside, even on this breakdown that we had the correction over just 4 weeks. So there's not much price action spent between these zones. This level is pretty inefficient, all things considered, on this weekly chart. So that tells me that when Cardano is able to break back above 40 cents, which I'm fairly expecting in the next few months, if not in the next few weeks, when we can see that reclaim, I think it'll be quick for Cardano to go all the way back up to that level right around $1. And I think that is a reasonable price to expect in this year because of how quick we can see those moves to the upside and to the downside once again. So just as an illustration of a few months out, if we were to say get that reclaim in the next few weeks, we could have potentially a couple weeks going sideways, consolidating. But ultimately, when we do see that momentum start to kick up, I don't think it will take Cardano very long to eventually get back up to that next level of resistance. And we could easily expect that in this year if we can reclaim and hold above the 40 cent level. Now, that is a big if because obviously we don't have that as yet. We do still have this level as resistance until proven otherwise. But my primary view with the market, and especially with Bitcoin, is that we have experienced a longer term cycle bottom. I think a lot of the altcoins have bottomed out as well. So this is just the primary expectation, just given that assumption that Bitcoin has bottomed. I've provided a lot of reasons and videos on why I think that has happened, but just a quick rundown is we've seen a surplus of negative news, bearish sentiment, and liquidation-like events. We've seen a lot of those longer term momentum indicators start to flash and reverse to the upside. We've seen a typical drawdown that we could expect in the last previous bear markets in terms of the time that we have been within this bear market. And in general, a lot of the signs on the weekly chart are starting to show that the momentum is beginning to reverse, especially with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Many other altcoins are actually having their own bottoming patterns. Some of the more newer ones are actually making new all-time highs. And all of this is just not what you see within a typical bear market. So for that reason, I do think that Cardano has had a bottom with the rest of the market. I'm no longer expecting that final leg down. Again, that could happen though. If we do have a harsh rejection off this level, the second attempt, we could see that happen. But again, that is not my primary view. That is not what I'm going to be focused on into the next few months. What I am going to be focusing on is an eventual reclaim and break back above 40 cents. And when that happens, I want to see a sustainable move holding above this. And the illustration I have drawn is the more bullish path. Obviously, we could delay that and just have potentially a retest of the lows, forming a double bottom. We come back down and form a higher low. Any number of iterations where eventually we do have some sort of breakout, I think we will see that move to the upside, maybe around $1 towards the end of this year. And I believe that how quickly we do experience that breakout above 40 cents will largely depend on the ADA-BTC ratio. Currently, you can see it's not performing very well. We've had a pretty significant downtrend during this bear market, and it's basically just retesting the lows from back here in May of 2022. So while we're not really seeing any outperformance with respect to Bitcoin, and this is still within a bear market decline, we're coming back down. We're still above support, and this is support until proven otherwise. And we could very well have some sort of double bottom off of this zone. And if we do have that double bottom and we start to reverse out of this to form a major bottom on the ADA-BTC ratio, this is really the scenario where I think that we're going to have that breakout above 40 cents sooner rather than later. But of course, if we do have a breakdown below this level of support, right around 1700 satoshis, then we could just look for that alternate scenario where we have a few more months consolidating under this and don't have a breakout later on until the ADA-BTC ratio does start to reverse, does start to have that outperformance, and we see the general market have a lot more bullish sentiment surrounding the altcoins as opposed to just Bitcoin, Ethereum, and just a very select few. So I hope you guys did enjoy the content and the analysis. By the way, make sure to check out my Twitter page. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I'm fairly active over there with crypto content. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.